Brilliant. I've got Charlie Cameron from AquaTerra Training with me. He's in the business spotlight today. So thank you for joining me, Charlie.
No
Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
So for starters, the obvious one, what is it that you do and how long have you been doing it for?
Well, currently I work for AquaTerra Training and I've been with AquaTerra for this is my 12th year. I run the training business now, but I've also worked for the group in a business support director capacity for 5 years, looking after their compliance, etc. So I've had a few changes of roles since I've been at AquaTerra. So my latest one's the managing director of the training business. Before that, I've been about 25 years in the training and education business. So I used to work in further education before I came here.
So what kind of training is it that you deliver?
We deliver quite a lot of high hazard training, so confined space, working at height, rescue. We also deliver dangerous goods by road, air and sea, which includes radioactives and explosives. But we can also deliver the whole suite of health and safety courses that are required for compliance in most businesses. And we can also, where we separate ourselves from others, is we want to get a real relationship with businesses and get to know their processes and their procedures and get to know their teams so that we can add real value whilst we're delivering the training rather than just a generic off-the-shelf product.
So it sounds like there's a wide offering there. Have you got quite a big team?
Yeah, we've got a big team here. We've got about 10 staff in Contour. We've got about 12 to 15 contractors that we use at any one time. And we deliver training to about 8,000 people a year globally. And that's a mixture of oil and gas, distilleries, other food and drink, construction, transport. So quite a diverse offering.
Fantastic. So you mentioned globally and you mentioned Contour, which kind of brings me nicely to my next question. What changes have you seen over the last few years? You know, lots of businesses have had to change how they do things after the pandemic.
I think one of the big things for us, we've seen a huge increase in our training being delivered on customer sites. So rather, we've got a training centre in Contour with 6 classrooms and capacity for 72 candidates a day. But we're actually finding more and more that the training centre is quieter and that all our instructors are on people's sites or on oil rigs or on boats, wherever it needs to be. And that just makes the training more interesting for the candidates. I think also from a staff point of view, I think post-COVID, I think we've got a more flexible approach in how we do everything. I think we consider everybody individually within that because all our needs have kind of changed post-COVID. So it's been an interesting journey for us and certainly something that we're continuing that journey on. We've got to try and be more flexible, use e-learning more, use remote delivery for training more. So it's exciting times ahead.
Well, that's it. We're sat here on Zoom just now. So
exactly.
Are you doing much for virtual?
Yeah, we do quite a lot actually, and even some clients, it's opened our market. We've been delivering in Italy, Albania, Switzerland, and all just via Teams. So it's actually a market that didn't exist before, but because of some of our awarding bodies, they kind of slackened the procedures on delivery. So they allowed training companies like us with a global aviation training certification to be able to do over Teams. So that instantly saves the customer a fortune, not having to pay for flights, hotels, travel days. So we've ended up getting work that we didn't have access to before. And that's just basic Teams, nothing fancy. So it's been good.
Fantastic. So what would you say has been your biggest learning throughout your years in business?
I think for me is treating staff and customers as individuals, and that authentic relationships is the only way it works. And I keep on reminding myself that, and it always comes back to you always get a reminder of that. That's correct. I think you can't be a fly by night. You can't be two-faced. You just need to be yourself all the time and be honest and then that just grows your network and your own my own reputation.
Love it. Brilliant, brilliant lesson to be sharing with others as well. So what about your team? You've got a big team there. Are there challenges in finding people, keeping people? What have been your learnings as an employer and a manager?
I think the biggest one is, so for example, specialist instructors, especially in the oil and gas industry. If we get a specialist, for example, rigging and lifting instructor, there's a ceiling that they can be paid within the training industry. But as soon as they get offered a job offshore again, there's no way we can compete. So it's trying to retain the balance between people that have got all the knowledge required to satisfy awarding bodies and customers versus what can we offer them against what an offshore job can offer them. But I think also in general, what surprised me actually is we get a lot of applications from folk from in south of England wanting to relocate up here just for a change of scenery and a change of job. So we've got challenges with the specialist bit I mentioned, but we've also got, it's a bit of a challenge actually thinking, wow, if somebody's willing to relocate to come and work for us, we need to make sure this is right. The pressure changes, if that makes sense. And we've got a big responsibility then if somebody's going to move house and come and work for us, we need to make sure that recruitment is 100% right for both parties, so it's a long-term relationship.
So how do you make sure that they're the right person for AquaTerra then?
We'll go through quite a fairly robust recruitment process. We'll do the usual LinkedIn and Indeed adverts, etc. And then we'll open it up, usually with an informal online half an hour social chat. We'll then go into formal interviews, formal presentations. We'll do a due diligence on the references and the certification, and always have like that open dialogue. And we've tried different things in the past. I've went with a full advert that says the job description, salary, working hours, so there's clarity. But sometimes you just need to put it out there that we want somebody brilliant. We're not sure how much we need to pay a brilliant person, but come and have a chat. So yeah, and then we also, once somebody's in the door, we went from if you like, a stereotypical induction process that was induct and then get them going. We actually, our initial induction process takes 12 weeks now. And then we've got a development plan thereafter. So I think things have certainly changed in relation to recruitment and retention of staff.
Good. So brilliant. We just want brilliant people. I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need to be the best.
Let us know, and we'll see if your version of brilliance is the same as ours.
Exactly.
So in terms of being in charge of a business, is this what you always wanted to do?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, when I was 16, if I planned it, probably not. But when I served my time as a painter and sign writer, I had my own painting business by the time I was 23. So I just kind of fell into that, pretty ambitious. And then, yeah, I think I don't class myself as ambitious, but actually, if I probably stepped out and looked in at myself, I probably am. So I like to be in control, but not in a micromanagement way. I just like to kind of be driving the bus, making sure everybody gets to where we're wanting to go. And I think you kind of plan for that. I think you end up being a business owner or a leader, or you don't. And I think you end up being naturally, you land where suits you. So yeah, I really enjoy it. It's quite good.
Good. So talking about ambition then, what are your ambitions for the company in the next 5 years?
I think because I've been here 12 years, and this is my second time into the training business, but now I'm not getting any younger. So I've mapped out in the next 3 to 5 years, we're quite clear that we want to grow. That may be by acquisition, it may be by organic growth, but I'd like to see us probably 3 times the size we are just now, at least. Multiple locations, a bit more diverse in our offering, and that could be by just working alongside other companies or taking on different types of staff. So yeah, definitely ambition for growth, to be here way beyond some of our, like the founders of the business, they have no aspirations to be here in the next 5 years. So I need to look at either a management buyout or maybe employee ownership cooperative. So all these things are in my head just now, but definitely going to go for it, be ambitious, make it a success, and so that everybody kind of gets a success from that as well.
It's exciting. Big changes inside and out.
I'm also doing, because I just started in the MD role in January, we're kind of keeping an eye on my first 100 days in office, because it's like a new start. Let's go for it. Just let's make it work.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
hopefully I'm speaking.
How has it been for you then? Your first 100 days.
I think I've probably reflected a lot on what I've done in the past, maybe not very well. So I mean, to be honest, I set out my stall. I've told the staff I'm not back as an operational director. I'm here to look at the strategy and the growth. I now appreciate my role and function in the marketing and sales element of the business. So the amount of time I now commit to that compared to what I used to is huge. We employ great people to do a great job. So what's the point of me micromanaging them? I let staff get on with what they're good at. And I think also I'm not scared to take on somebody that's better than me and let them thrive and then go out the other end, if you like. So it's just about staying on track, keep myself focused, and then just ensure that we've got the capacity and the resources we need to keep doing that. Because the minute, for example, if I go back to teaching courses or get back into the operational bits, the growth will never happen. So it's an interesting coming back as a person that's been here for 11 years plus, but I've set out my stall that I'm here to do a different role than I did the last time I was in training.
Fantastic. And there's going to be times when that's hard for you.
Aye, yeah, definitely. Because I think I'm probably an educationalist to heart. I want to see people develop. We do loads of work with the DYW. I do coaching at my own house for youngsters and do CV work and interview skills with them. So I just love to see people get on in life. So it is hard for me now to get my sleeves rolled up at work as well, because to be honest, it'd be easy if I could just go and teach every day. That would be the easy bit of the job. So I pull myself back from that hands-on stuff's difficult.
No, it's good. Good. So you mentioned that you're helping develop young people and that you've been doing some coaching of youngsters. Who's been the best coach that you've ever had?
Oh, good question. I bet you there's a person that I served my time with as a painter, because he was traditional, hard, fair, and I think in a 16-year-old he instilled timekeeping, hard working ethic, things need to be right. And he used to say things like, bearing in mind we were a painting business, you got to be better than the rest, you're only as good as your last job. It would be hoovering up folks' living rooms after you finished. So I think probably coaching wise, although in 1989 it wouldn't have been classed as coaching and I probably cursed about him. His name was Jim Hawke, and he trained tens and tens of apprentices over the years. I would have looked back and cursed about him under my breath, moaned about him all the time, but I look back now and think he was just an amazing coach, really. And he did that for, didn't matter what background you came from. I remember one young lad that couldn't afford driving lessons. Jim put the L plates on the vans, paid for lessons for him, and then the lad passed his test. So that's real coaching, that can not just skills but life coaching.
Yes.
So yeah, probably him.
That's brilliant. I'm getting goosebumps listening to that story.
And it's true. It's just when you ask a question like this live and you try and think, you can only give a real answer when you get asked kind of on the cuff like that. So yeah, probably him, definitely. Fantastic.
So yeah, going back to that 16, 18-year-old you then, Charlie, what if you could go back, what advice would you give yourself?
I think, tongue in cheek, probably buy Bitcoin in 2010 and sell it in December 2021. But what advice would I give myself? To be honest, I think I'm quite lucky. I was engaged when I was 18, married at 20, had my first daughter at 21, and I've got nothing to complain about. I didn't look back and think, oh, I wish I went to university twice in my 30s, because I just wanted to be a painter and sign writer. So I've lived the dream. I've got a classic Mini in my garage at home now. I've got over 2,000 records that my wife cracks up about. So I'm not sure I would have said much apart from you're going to hey, the next 32 years are going to be pretty good to you.
Brilliant. Lovely to hear that you're happy and contented.
Exactly.
And running a great business.
Yeah, can't ask for much more, to be honest.
Yeah. So what are the challenges in the future?
I think business-wise or personally?
Well, whichever you feel you would like to answer.
I think business-wise, the challenges in the future are going to be knowing my place within the hierarchy of training businesses in Scotland. So there's huge companies that turn over tens of millions of pounds that are backed by financial investors, and they get regurgitated every 3 to 5 years, and they hoover up all the big contracts. Knowing my place in that hierarchy and having sensible diversification, and so making sure that everything's kind of thought about, it's considered, and it's that sustainable growth, if you like. I think that's going to be our biggest challenges, because it's too easy to knee-jerk reaction. You know, if a client asks for one thing and you maybe go chasing it, and then actually you find out there's no sustainability in it, there's no people going to be coming through for that in the future. So I see that as a challenge. Personally, challenge probably for me is even over the next 10 to 15 years, I'll need to decide when I'm going to stop, because my wife and I joke about, I'll never stop working just now. I've got 75 in my head just now. I'm lucky, I'm off the painting tools, I've got an office job, so there's no reason why I can't work forever. But it's just being fair to yourself, really, and the challenge is just keeping it real, being sensible. I'm not a martyr or a workaholic, and you need to keep that balance, and having a couple of grandkids, it's about just that. The challenge is that balance, and not getting sucked into the corporate madness and being a busy fool.
Is that the lesson then that you would say to anyone else that's going into business? I
probably would be, actually. We flush folk out of here at 5 o'clock at night, and if somebody's at their desk at 5 o'clock, we're saying, what are you doing? Get out. Kind of as brutal as that. And it's about, I know folk that have worked 7 days a week, worked overseas for years, got a huge amount of money in the bank or whatever goods they've got on show, but they're nothing near as content as me. And there's always a moan. So yeah, I think you're right. Keep it, looking back, the question you just asked, keep it real. Make sure that balance is appropriate to fit the individual, because some folk love working all the time, love working weekends or whatever. My father-in-law was an ex-farmer. There's no way he could have had the work-life balance I had.
My father's a farmer as well. Yeah, my father.
Imagine saying to him, you can't combine on a dry Sunday night. That'd be impossible. So yeah, no, it's a good point, going back to that lessons learned. And that would just keep it real.
Fantastic. Charlie, I've got so many more questions on here I would love to ask you, but we're kind of out of time.
No bother.
So yeah, really appreciate you being on. And if anybody's looking to find out more about what AquaTerra do, they just Google you up.
Yeah, if you just Google AquaTerra Training, or just look for myself on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on social media, so give us a message, Google AquaTerra Training, and put in an information request, or connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can meet up, whether virtually or for a face-to-face. Willing to travel anywhere to meet anybody that wants to build a decent business relationship. Fantastic.
Yeah, you and I better meet up sometime soon, I think.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you so much, Charlie. I've really enjoyed chatting to you today.
No bother. Thank you very much, Brenda. Cheers.
Right.